Well, hello YouTubers, and welcome back to the Holtz Mitchell channel. For those of you who just subscribed and are checking things out, welcome the new subscribers on board. Today we're taking another look at pinching the winch. This is episode 2, and today we're going to be looking at beveling this top part, getting this all flushed up. So we're getting the rough dimensions of the thing all knocked out here. When this thing was cut on a diagonal, the saw kind of did a little bit of a curve. So one half was concave and the other one was convex. So the higher side was convex, so it wasn't really that suitable for trying to set the parallels up against the edge here to establish an overall angle. So we took the concave side, where it gave the parallel two contact points on each side in order to establish that angle, and so then we just stuck it in the vise here on the mill. So this is how we're going to go do that. And so, let's see, this is, so then the next step is to, of course, take a carbide. This is tool steel, so it's extremely tough and pretty hard. And HSS bits will work. The drill bits that I use down here will chew through it, although they don't like this material very well. So I thought, well, this is probably a good job for a carbide bit, and sure enough, it was the right choice. So here's how we're going to take off. Now, I didn't take a full cut on the full width of the higher one. I took off half in order not to overload the cutter and put too much heat in the material. So here's that right now. see, what's this? Oh. So here you'll see how the finish turned out on the cut. Yeah, so. I did put a face mill on and face milled it, although that face mill being HSS didn't really like this this material all that well. So let's see, what's the next step? I'm using here, I took this footage a few days ago, and so now I'm adding back in the narration because I didn't have time to narrate it when I was recording it. I was, you know, in rush mode to get it done. So the next step, of course, is rounding the edges. So here's how we're going to do that. Now, keep in mind, the whole time I didn't take this out of the vise for, you know, the planing, so to speak, of this part right here, and then also the rounding of the edges here. And now, one thing I got to add before we go on to this, you'll see this in the video, the finish on this edge is kind of interesting because as it goes around the side to the bottom, the diameter of the cutter diminishes, so you get a different cutting speed on the top edge, a faster cutting speed as you do going down around the bottom edge. So with the Bridgeport that I have, it's a J-head, and so it's kind of hard to select, you know, get that sweet spot going where you can tweak the RPMs just right for whatever cutter you're running. You have to find a middle of the road kind of a speed or just a general speed that the cutter will take, and that's what happened here. So as you look around the edge towards the bottom, the finish gets kind of scaly, and I'm thinking it was probably a combination of one, chips getting recycled back into the cut and cold welded to the cut here, or in one case I actually climb milled and got a much better finish, and that's the reason I'm kind of inclined to think that the chips were recycling down here towards the bottom and then just kind of cold welding to the cut. Now, we also went and put a new hub in the drum. Now, this, of course, being a slow runner, concentricity really isn't all that critical, or balance, I should say. But one of the things that we wanted to make sure of is that the gears mesh. So we took the gear side of this pulley, the drum here, and put it in the chuck on the lathe. Damn it! Stupid thing keeps switching over to calendar. I'm sick of this. So anyway, so we bored this out, put a new hub in it, and then put it back, you know, took it out, welded the new hub in, and then drilled and reamed it so that we got a nice clean smooth finish. So we do have a shoulder bolt here that I made, a 14 millimeter diameter, and the reason for a shoulder bolt, now this thing is going to be under a lot of stress, and so when you stick this in here, you want part of the shaft to actually be placed inside the corpus of the winch itself, the body of it. So that will increase your shearing strength of the shaft. Now, of course, if this thing gets bent, you're kind of hoop-a-jooped. So, but either way, it doesn't matter. You're still hoop-a-jooped one way or the other. So anyway, now all we had to do is drill our final hole here, up here I mean, and then shoulder that, you know, go to a certain depth. I'm probably going to go, probably looks like at 4 millimeters on each side. And then that way there's going to be enough of a shoulder to where the drum has some play laterally on the shaft, and then you can really just put all the grunk you want to on the nuts and cinch it up so where it can't move anymore. And so that way you're not pinching your sidewalls onto the hub of the drum. And so that way you still have free movement without any restrictions. So one of the things I wanted to kind of point out, and this is kind of something that you can do when you're doing a project like this. Now I put 2 different holes here. Yeah, this stupid thing is still switching over. Let me switch it off. So anyway, when you put your holes in for your pins, if you have other holes to drill, you can make those holes that you're going to drill your pinholes as well. So if you have an oversized pin, I didn't have any large pins, and that's the reason I took these little 4 millimeter guys and just put them in a random spot on opposite each other diagonally on the workpiece. Now, what I did here on the snatch block is I did just that. I used 4 millimeter holes again, but I used those holes as my my work holes, you know, the alignment. Oh, how did you phrase that? Anyway, so that they were actually incorporated into the work as opposed to just being, you know, random holes on the workpiece somewhere. So then did the same thing on the snatch block, shoulder bolts, so that the idler roll inside has a little bit of slop. And also what I did is I drilled a hole here through the thing, and just put the center drill on here, and then drilled it almost all the way through, and then through on the, you can't see it here, but it allows for some lubricant, some grease to get in here on the snatch block, on the shiv, and so it doesn't gall up and seize up. Well, YouTubers, that's a wrap for this episode of Pinching the Winch. We're going to continue this on. Like I said, I still got to ream some deeper holes here. I got a 13 millimeter hole on this side, which is a little over 1/2 inch. So that way the bolt has plenty of slot, but then I'm going to ream the hole to the 14 millimeters that the shoulder bolt is, and put in a depth stop there so that we don't go too far, and the shoulder bolt does what it's supposed to do, and being relieved into the sidewalls of the thing so that the shearing forces that do apply, it'll withstand higher shearing forces, let's put it that way. So anyway, that's kind of a preview of what's going on next. As you can see, got a partial assembly here, but I'm not sure I'm going to dovetail these. I'm probably just going to put a long groove in the bottom of it and bolt it to the bottom, mainly for time savings. The boss is already kind of a little, I wouldn't say mad, but not too thrilled with the idea that I've put a lot of time in, as much time as I have into this thing. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up in one more episode here and get this thing knocked out so that we have a functional winch again for pulling kiln carts. So if this were mine, I would definitely dovetail it. Unfortunately, the dovetail cutter that I do have is HSS, and again, this being tool steel, it's going to be hard on that thing, and I'm going to have to take a lot of passes in order to get the dovetail correct and yada 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 yada. So I think we'll just forego that nonsense and just go ahead and just put a groove in it and color it good, and then bolt it. So anyway, that's a wrap for today. If you guys have any thoughts, comments, suggestions on how to improve this or this project or the video, by all means, put them down in the doobly-doo down below. And don't forget to, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. As you can see, I'm not used to plugging, so kind of have a hard time getting it out there. But anyway, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys again soon.